Hey, I'm Dr. Nate Bosch with the Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams. Today we're answering the question, what's the difference between a bog, a marsh, a swamp? The quick answer is they're all different types of wetlands. Right now we're standing in a marsh. It's an herbaceous plant-dominated wetland, meaning the plants are green and they're coming up every year from scratch. We could also have a swamp, which would have more woody plants, plants that have bark on them and twigs, and they're going to be standing all year long, even though they might lose their leaves at certain times of the year. And a bog is going to be a type of wetland that has a sphagnum mat on the top, a sphagnum moss mat on the top. It'll be kind of squishy as you walk on it. Almost you can feel the waves of water layer, and then sphagnum mat on the top that usually can hold up the weight of a person or a critter walking across the top of a bog. Why do we even care about wetlands? Wetlands, we call them sponges and kidneys. They're sponges because they hold in, they absorb water from snowmelt or from runoff from a big rain event, and then they slowly let that water out. Maybe they let it out into one of our local lakes and streams. Maybe they let it recharge our groundwater, the aquifers down beneath our feet. They're like kidneys because they filter. They actually will filter out pollutants out of the water. Maybe it's excess nutrients from fertilizer runoff, or maybe it's sediments that are coming off of a construction site or an agricultural field, and they can help filter those things out and leave the water cleaner as it leaves the wetland into one of our local lakes and streams. So wetlands are interesting and diverse, but they're also really helpful to our local aquatic ecosystems. Let's talk a little bit about how wetlands have changed over time. In our country, the United States, we have only about half the wetlands that we had back in the late 1700s. In Indiana, where we are right now, we've lost 85% of our wetlands in just the last century. We don't have as many wetlands, even though they do some really cool things. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that live in and around our wetlands. So most obvious right here in front of me is the soil. So we've got an organic rich soil here. It's a dark in color, low oxygen levels. I can see little bits of twigs and leaves and other plant material that's decomposing slowly because of the low oxygen levels. We can look at the plants around us as well. We've got cattails over here with a mix of some reed canary grass amongst the cattails. Both of those are invasive, so we're not standing next to a really high quality wetland here right now. The cattails are a hybrid form from a European and a native form. The reed canary grass, not from around here either. If we go to more to the edge, we can see behind me here is a sycamore tree that's got somewhat green, little bit brownish leaves here as we're going into fall. A great wetland loving plant, low oxygen levels by its roots. Sycamores are actually great for city urban sort of environments because there's not a lot of oxygen in the soil often in an urban environment as well. Coming back around here, we've got some weeping willows, we've got some black willow trees. Coming a little bit closer over here to my left, we've got eastern cottonwood. The cottonwood leaves are kind of waving to you. I love how they have a flattened petiole. That's the little connector between the leaf blade and the twig. That petiole is flattened, and so it allows it to wave in the wind and kind of cool off the leaves in the hot summer sunlight. There's also some duckweed and water meal here around my feet, right on the surface of the soil. So that will start to float as this wetland becomes more flooded, and then we'll just sit right on the top of the wet organic soil times of the year, like right now when there's not standing water. Those are actually the smallest seed-bearing, flowering plants in the entire world here in these wetlands. Pretty cool that we have those things here. Critters live in our wetlands as well. There's a number of animal tracks around here. Deer and raccoons will come out here, even some snakes. I'm not a big fan of snakes personally, but the eastern Massasauga is an endangered snake species that we have in northern Indiana, which is found in wetlands, just not very commonly. We also have different waterfowl, sandhill cranes we have in our area, which are beautiful and have really distinct calls, great blue herons. They call wetlands home as well. So Wetlands, different types. So we've talked about a marsh, which is where we are right now, green herbaceous plants sprouting up every year. Swamp, which is going to have more woody wetland plants amongst the wetland itself, maybe red maple trees, buttonbush, those shrubs. And then a bog. A bog is going to have that sphagnum moss on the top, sometimes some trees growing out of it, like a black spruce maybe, and it's going to sort of have waves in it as people jump or walk across it. Wetlands are important for our local lakes and streams. They help filter the water so it comes into our lakes and streams cleaner with less nutrients, so we don't have as much algae and weeds growing in our local lakes. They also help hold back some of the water so we have less flooding on our lakes and streams as well. So we all can take better care of our wetlands and protect them for the future so that our lakes and streams can be cleaner and healthier and safer and more beautiful.